How many of your last year's resolutions have you accomplished? Maybe one or none. And the same thing is going to happen unless we change how we approach goals. Because you're not actually failing because you're undisciplined. You're failing because the way you've been taught to set goals is completely backwards. I recently read this book called Tiny Experiments by the neuroscientist and Laura LeCunff. I can't pronounce her name. To be honest, it completely changed how I approach goals. So in this video, I'm going to break down why goals never stick, what to do instead, and how to actually apply this into your life. Let's get started. One of the biggest things that I struggled for years is definitely hitting the gym consistently. Every time New Year would come and I would tell myself, this time I'm going to be a fit person, this time I'm going to hit the gym consistently, and I would sign up to a gym, right? I would go 3-4 times, but then slowly I would start to skip the gym. And then I would feel like a shit. I would tell myself, I am so undisciplined. Like I cannot even hit the gym. I'm not even following the plan that I created. But now that I think about it, now that I established the habit of going to the gym and I am pretty jacked, I would say, I realized that the reason was because I was creating this all or nothing attitude. I was telling myself that either I'm going to hit the gym 4 times a week or I'm not going to do it at all. And to be honest, this is not only about the gym. This applies to every aspect of our lives. Think about it. Like, how many times have you told yourself that I'm going to learn a new language, or I'm going to start posting on social media, I'm finally going to read more this year, or I'm going to start to eat healthy. After a few days, you quit. And then there's another evidence that you didn't keep the promise that you gave to yourself. So you feel the guilt and you feel shitty about yourself and you start to talk negatively to yourself, saying that I am not disciplined. Maybe I am not the type of person that achieves their goals. It becomes this guilt and shame spiral that you can't get out of it. But actually, I realized that it's not really about discipline, or it's not really about how much motivation you have towards a goal. It's actually about not creating a binary system where you have a certain goal, and if you follow it, it's a win. If you don't follow it, it's a lose situation. This creates the all or nothing attitude where it makes so impossible for most people to take action, because you think, if I'm not going to do it perfectly, I'm not doing it. But the thing is that you cannot do perfectly from the beginning, because most of us actually don't know how to properly set goals. Do you actually understand your capacity right now? Do you know what you truly want? And do you actually know how to make goals sustainable? These are really hard questions to answer, and we think we must have the answers before we start, like the perfect plan, perfect strategy, like the perfect 10-year roadmap in your mind or something, especially me. But actually, we need to explore more to figure out our way of achieving things. We can't know our capacity until we test it, and we can't know what we want until we try different things. We can't know how to make something sustainable until we experiment. But nobody tells us that, right? Instead, we're told to set SMART goals, or create a detailed action plan, or just commit fully. So when we don't have all the answers, we feel like we are failing before we even start. And the another thing that actually opened my eyes is that most of the time we treat goals like one-time achievements, but actually 99% of the goals that you're trying to achieve are probably not one time and they're ongoing. It's not really about going to the gym once, but it's about staying consistent. It's not about posting one video, but it's about building a sustainable content habit. It's not about reading 50 books this year, it's about maintaining a reading practice. And we treat goals like finish lines. Once you cross them, you're done. Confetti falls and game over, wow, amazing. But in reality, goals actually need constant adaptation, and different seasons of life have different priorities. And one of the difficult things that I learned is that if you have 2 different priorities, you actually have none, because you can't simultaneously grow your business and get fit and learn a language and read a lot of books and spend a good time with your family if you're just getting started. You're going to spread yourself thin and make 0 progress on anything, or be mediocre at everything and probably burn out. Okay, Dori, these things make sense, but what is the alternative? Like, what am I supposed to do then? Like, how am I going to experiment and explore more about my life? How am I going to figure out my capacity, my priorities, and what I actually want from life? Let me explain how. So this is where actually the book Tiny Experiment really comes in, and I'm going to explain how to apply the tiny experiment principle or tiny experiment method into your life. The method that the author talks about is actually stupidly simple. The first step is observe. First, you just observe, no judgment. You just look at your life and literally take notes. Like, what is working in your life? What's not? What drains your energy? What gives you energy? I know like this creates resistance because we immediately want to jump into creating plans and create this like elaborate plan and obsess over it. But actually, this is a very important step. This is the starting point that you should not skip. The second step is form a hypothesis. Based on what you observe, you basically start to form a hypothesis, okay? You tell to yourself, maybe I would enjoy doing this thing differently. Maybe I would enjoy this if I did this in this way. Or maybe I would be more productive if I tried this approach, this method, or this thing. Or you tell to yourself, maybe this time of the day works better than me. If you're trying to wake up early, but if you're constantly failing, then you start to form a hypothesis asking yourself that, is actually waking up early the thing that is going to make me productive, or is it something else? When forming a hypothesis, it doesn't have to be the perfect hypothesis as well. You just use your instinct and follow your curiosity. And then step 3 is design your experiment. So basically the template that you're going to use when you're creating your tiny experiment is quite simple. And I'm going to give you the most simplified version. And basically, you fill out this structure. I will, action, for, duration. So, for example, I will go to the gym for 20 minutes 3 times a week for the next 2 weeks. Or I will write for 10 minutes every morning for the next 10 days. Or I will work in a library for 12-hour sprints 3 days a week for the next 2 weeks. This is literally your personal commitment to the curiosity, the hypothesis that you're trying to figure out whether that's true or not. And as you can see, these are quite like small experiment. It's not like I'm going to do this for the next 3 months or something, but I'm going to do this for the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to do this in a specific way to see where it goes. And then step 4 is running the experiment. So you do it, you don't judge it, you don't try to perfect it while you're doing it, you just conduct the experiment. And then you also collect data and see how it feels. For example, if you told yourself that I'm going to post, I don't know, 1 story per day for the next 2 weeks, you just do it. You don't look for better ways to do it. You don't look for the optimized ways to do it. Or maybe, is this the correct way? Is this thing? Or maybe what should I do? No. You just form a hypothesis, you fill out the template that I told you, I will, action, for duration, and then you conduct the experiment. And then you analyze how it went, which is the step 5, reflect and iterate. After the experiment is done, you basically look back and you ask yourself, did this work? How did it feel? What did I learn? Then you either keep doing it because it's working for you, or you tweak it and try it again. Maybe you post it every day on, let's say, stories for 2 weeks, but you realize that it's not really sustainable for your current lifestyle. Then you don't do it every day, maybe every other day for the next 2 weeks. Let's see what's going to happen. Or you can also choose the option to abandon it completely. You might realize that maybe it's not the goal that you want to prioritize right now. Unless you try something, you might not even recognize that it's not maybe suitable for your current life season. And the great thing about actually running this tiny experiment, this mindset, is that failure actually becomes a data, not just like a result, because the point of the experiment is to see whether there are things that you can do better or collect data and understand yourself and your life more, right? If you would tell to yourself, like, I'm going to become a writer, and then you're suddenly telling yourself, I'm going to write every single day for this year, and then you suddenly stop it, it becomes a failure. But with tiny experiments, you're telling yourself that, failure is literally normal. The thing is that, why did we fail? How can we tweak it? Are we abandoning it? Like, abandoning it isn't also an option. That's the big difference. You change your mindset from I'm a failure, I failed at this, to okay, that approach didn't work. What can I try next? Should I tweak it, or should I focus on something else? So you might be asking, like, how do I know whether it's a good experiment or not? Like, should I try something random? No, actually, there are a few things. Like, there are 3 signs that you should look into if you're trying to conduct a good experiment. The first one is you're actually excited about it, okay? If you're not curious about exploring this and trying to figure out this hypothesis, it's probably not worth of your time. You're just telling yourself that it's worth of your time, okay? The second thing is it's doable. Can you actually, like, complete it? If not, make it smaller, make it way simpler. Like, go for 2 weeks instead of a month, or maybe even like for a week, or maybe just like for the 5 days. And if you're telling yourself, I'm going to do this for an hour every day, just tell yourself, like, I'm going to do it for the 15 minutes every single day. If you're not able to do 15 minutes every day, then probably you're not going to be able to do it for an hour anyway. And the third criteria is it's out of your comfort zone. If you already know the outcome, or like 99% guess the outcome, it's not really an experiment, it's just a project in your life. Because experiments starts from uncertainty. You need to be thinking, oh, does this work in this way? You don't know the answer. Therefore, you conduct the experiment. You know, this is actually how I literally became a full-time YouTuber, to be honest. When I was 15, 9 years ago, which is crazy to mention, being a YouTuber wasn't really a cool thing. It was kind of weird. Not a lot of people were watching YouTube 9, 10 years ago, to be honest. But I did not necessarily have a strategy. I had just this big vision of, oh, I love YouTube. I love watching YouTube and I'm gonna become a YouTuber. I don't know how long it's gonna take. I'm just gonna do my thing and I'm going to become a YouTuber. That was the whole vision. And when I decided to become a YouTuber, literally the next day I published my first video, which you can dig deep online. You can see my first video ever. It's so embarrassing, but I kept it public so that you guys can see it. It's so embarrassing. But literally, I learned editing on the same day. I was watching YouTube videos and I borrowed my mom's camera and started literally posting videos. I didn't strategize how to grow my YouTube channel in 100k subscribers in 3 months or something. I literally decided and made a video next day. Published, kept going for years. And then I realized, okay, maybe I need a strategy. And then I take a step back, created a strategy, came back with my, current channel, and we went from 0 to 100k in 3 months. Sure, in the second part of my YouTube growth, I had a strategy, I had more strategic planning. But the reason why I actually was able to create that strategic planning and execute on it was because I first learned by doing. A lot of people ask me how did you learn editing? I don't know. I just watched a YouTube video and I published videos again and again and again, and with the repetition I learned how to do it. And when I was also trying to grow my YouTube channel, I didn't necessarily have goals based on timelines. I wasn't telling myself that I needed to hit 100k subscribers in under 2 years or anything. My whole plan was just to become a YouTuber and publish videos, and then we will figure out later what happens. And that really worked. We went from 0 to 100k subscribers in 3 months and to 1 million in 2 years. And now we are at 1.4. If I had created the perfect plan from the day one, I probably wouldn't be here, because I would be in analysis paralysis mode and I would think to myself, oh, I failed. I cannot become a YouTuber. But because I was just experimenting, I was like, okay, this didn't work. Let's try this. This didn't work. Let's try that. And I kept going. And for 5 years, I saw no results, but I kept going because it wasn't a failure for me. It was just an experiment. So how do you actually run a tiny experiment in your life, right? What is the action plan for you? So first of all, we're going to follow the template that I mentioned. I will, action, for, duration. Okay, that's it. That's basically the whole rule. That's how you design an experiment. The intentional constraint is that you're not really saying, I'm going to write more, I'm going to start to read more, or I'm going to start exercising. You're saying exactly what you will do and for how long. This can be also based on input-based or maybe time-bound. And if it's input-based, you could be maybe saying write 300 words per day. And if it's time-bound, you would be saying write for 30 minutes per day. You can pick whichever feels more natural for your experiment, to be honest. There are no rules. But the most important thing is that you need to follow your curiosity. What do you want to know? Don't pick something because you have to. Don't tell to yourself that I'm going to hit the gym 3 times a week for the next 10 days. If there's no curiosity around it, then don't conduct an experiment around it. You could be telling to yourself that, okay, for the next 5 days, I'm going to follow this specific workout plan from this specific creator and let me see how it goes. That's an experiment. The whole idea and the whole purpose of running this tiny experiment is to see whether a certain method works for you or certain approach will work better than the last time. Now, this actually fits perfectly into my system, Kaizen. Kaizen is basically a Japanese word / philosophy that means continuous improvement through small adjustments. It's an ongoing process of improvement. And that is the whole philosophy behind my channel. And I designed this Kaizen system specifically for people with ADHD or anyone else that struggles with traditional productivity methods, because I struggled with it my whole life. And in Kaizen, we actually do a practice called micro commitment. This is basically the exact thing that actually helped me to finally get in shape after years of literally 6 years of struggling to be consistent with the gym. And it's very simple. A micro commitment is something that is basically 2-minute action that you can take right now to move towards your experiment. For example, if your experiment is I will go to the gym 3 times per week for the next 2 weeks, your micro commitment isn't gonna be go to the gym for 45 minutes. It's gonna be just put on your workout clothes. Literally, your micro commitment, the commitment that you're making that is micro is putting your workout clothes. If you're trying to, let's say, for example, write more, instead of like write 200 words, your micro commitment is open the document and sit in front of it. We're literally breaking it down to the smallest chunk as much as possible, and it's oftentimes the starting act of it. The reason is because, I don't know, maybe this is because I have ADHD, but if you're also like struggling to take action, you'll probably recognize this, but starting part is very difficult, right? Like when you're trying to switch to your brain into that mode, that is like almost impossible. Therefore, we are not making the goal to hit the gym, but we're turning it into put on your workout clothes. You don't even need to go to the gym. You just put it and you just get into the motion. I remember there was like a physics rule of like the object that is in motion will continue to move or something like that. I don't know. I hated physics. I don't remember. But anyway, I literally believe by that, okay? The moment I sit down, the moment I take my phone, 4 hours gone. But if I initiate the next task, right, like the start of it, and if I don't break the momentum, I can keep going. And that is how literally I built the habit to go to the gym consistently. After I'm done with my workday, I don't sit on the couch. I set my micro commitment as put on your gym clothes. And I change my clothes, and suddenly it's way easier for me to hit the gym. I literally have a video about how I hit the gym 365 days, during my depressive episodes. So if you want to watch it, you can watch. But that is literally the method that I use to finally be consistent. And the great thing about Kaizen is that you're not just logging these micro commitments, it actually visualizes for you. Every week, you can look back and see how many days you follow through. Like you can reflect on what worked, what didn't, and what you want to adjust for the next week. Because what you want to adjust for the next week is a small improvement that you can make, which is Kaizen. And the thing is that you don't have to reflect every week. Like I skip weekly reflections quite often, to be honest. But remember what Tiny Experiment actually says. Don't judge, just conduct the experiment. So if you want to keep continuing your experiment without like stopping to analyze it, that's completely fine. Just keep doing. The weekly reflection is there if you want it. It's not a must. I design in a way that it doesn't distract you. If you want to pause and if you want to compare how you're doing compared to last week and maybe overall this month, how many streaks that you have, then you can. But you don't necessarily have to. The whole philosophy behind my system is flexibility and adaptability. And if you're interested into my Kaizen system, check out my website, rudyohama.com. And when you decide to reflect, whatever it's after a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the duration that you decided your experimentation will run, you have basically 3 options. The first one is persisting. If you're enjoying the experiment or it's adding value to your life, you basically extend it. Maybe you run a 2-week experiment and it's working. Great, now do for another 2 weeks and let's see if it's still working. And the path 2 is pause. If the data reveals that the experiment didn't fit with your schedule or you simply didn't enjoy it, you pause. You reassess. Maybe it's not the right time for you to work on that specific goal. Maybe you need more capacity in your life right now. That's not necessarily a failure, that's actually a very valuable data. And path 3 is pivoting. If you need to course correct, adjust the scope. Maybe 20 minutes, the goal that you set was too much. So let's try 10 minutes now. Maybe five times a week was like really aggressive. So let's try with maybe 3 times a week. Maybe the time of the day didn't work, right? Like maybe you told yourself I'm going to work out in the mornings, but maybe it was too much. So let's change the time. And let's try for another week. You pivot, you adjust, and then you iterate, and then you run the experiment once again. And let me give you an example of what I'm actually experimenting right now in my life. And that is like, I've been struggling with productivity because I have ADHD. It's crazy, okay? I would always tell to myself, like, okay, I'm going to work like 5 times a week, almost like a 9 to 5, right? Like I would start from the morning and I would work till afternoon. I'll do it 5 times and I'll have weekends off so that I can hang out with like friends of mine, family of mine that also don't work on the weekends. But then I realized it does not work for my brain. Like I am really bad at task switching. So if I'm working on one task that day, I need to be only working on that thing. Let's say I'm filming a video, that's a filming day. I cannot do anything other than filming, but I can batch filming. I can film multiple videos in that day like I'm doing right now, but I cannot like switch my brain to different tasks. If it's a meeting day, that's a meeting day. I'm not doing anything else, okay? I basically realized this pattern and I was like, okay, what if I run an experiment to adjust my lifestyle accordingly instead of trying to overcome it? So I basically designed this experiment. I told myself I will work in sprint mode, so 3 to 4 times a week for 12 to 14 hours like work days in library or a co-working space for the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to try to batch similar tasks into similar days as much as my schedule allows. So instead of like working, 9 to 5, like 8 hours for 5 days, I told myself, okay, I'm going to do more intense sprints where I work 12 to 14 hours for 3 to 4 days, so that it's like 40 hours, but I'm doing it more intensely because that's how I operate. I'm either in a work mode or I'm in a rest mode. There's nothing like from 9 to 5 I'm working, and then from 5 to 9 I'm chilling or something. I cannot do that, okay? If I'm working that day, I'm working that day. And my hypothesis was basically that deep focus works in sprints, and without context switching, I will be more productive than trying to work a little bit every day. And my micro commitment on sprint days was literally just go to the library at 9 a.m. and lock in. That was it. And I realized that it's actually working really well. I thought to myself, why did I not try this way earlier? This works way better for my how I operate, the type of brain that I have. It's way easier for me to work for 14 hours for 3 days in a row rather than trying to work 8 hours for 5 days in a row. But again, I'm not treating like this is my permanent system. I'm just running an experiment. I am about to finish my experiment. This is the second week that I am in, and I'm going to extend it for another 2 weeks to see where it's going. Maybe in 2 months, I will realize that this doesn't work anymore, and I will need to come up with a new experiment, but that doesn't mean it's a failure and I cannot be productive or anything. It just means that for this season of my life, I needed this system, and for the next season of my life, I'm going to try something new. So before you set yourself a new goal, I want you to ask this: can I turn this goal into a tiny experiment where I can experiment with it for 2 weeks to see and gather data and then improve from there? Instead of saying to yourself, I'm going to lose 30 pounds this year, try I will walk for 15 minutes 4 days a week for the next 2 weeks. Instead of I'm going to build a successful YouTube channel this year, try I will record 1 2-minute video every week for the next 3 weeks. Instead of telling yourself, I'm going to finally become a morning person, tell to yourself, I will wake up 15 minutes earlier for the next 5 days. That's very small, specific, time bound and clear, and that's not sexy as telling to yourself, I'm finally going to become a YouTuber this year, but that's how really things work. Set it as your micro commitment, track it however you want, and commit to it for the next 1 or 2 weeks and see how things go. And this actually applies to big existential stuff, in my opinion. People tell to yourself, I don't know, a lot of people tell to me that in your 20s, you're supposed to find your life meaning, your passion, your purpose, discover whatever you're meant to do. But many of us, in our 20s, feel lost because we don't really know the answer. But what I realized is that we don't actually need to find the answer, to be honest. Also, your life purpose will be the same in the next 10 years, right? I don't think that there's a one purpose and we're moving towards it. Life itself is an experiment, and life itself is a journey to figure out whatever meaning there are. And in my opinion, I heard this quote recently and it really resonated with me. It was saying that life is not about pursuit of happiness. It's happiness of pursuit. And by running tiny experiments, applying this micro-commitment philosophy into your life, by following your curiosity, you will discover what you like. And it might change with time, but it is fine. And when you do that, you will finally develop this experimental mindset instead of failure or goal setting, that kind of a mindset, and let go of the all or nothing attitude. I am INTJ. I want to strategize every single step. I sometimes even think about what I will name my non-existing kids and grandkids and where I would want them to go to school to. I'm not even married. What are you planning for? But at the same time, I also have ADHD, so I am chaotic as hell. I'm very strategic, but I'm so chaotic, okay? And for years, that contradiction really made me feel I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life. I feel I'm wasting so much time and I would feel crappy about myself. But when you apply this tiny experiments and start to actually conduct experiments in your life, it becomes really exciting. For example, yesterday I failed at my sprint and I noted down and I noted also the reason why I failed. And now I can see clearly what is actually blocking my productivity and my efficiency. So if you're someone who's been beating yourself up for not sticking to your goals, if you have lost your self-belief, if you're stuck in analysis paralysis, just try this approach of running a tiny experiment, okay? I will action for duration, and then set a micro commitment, that 2-minute action that will start the thing for you. And then conduct the experiment for the next 2 weeks and see how it goes. If you couldn't commit to the experiment, if you couldn't do the experiment for 2 years, ask yourself, what was the reason? What was blocking you? Then let's change the experiment. Let's make it more simple and maybe try for the next 3 days. Instead of telling yourself that you failed, adjust your ability and your goals. Adjust the gap between where you want to be and where you are right now. And by conducting a tiny experiment, you're going to get closer and closer. And if you want the system that helps you implement this micro commitment and track your experiments, check out my Kaizen system. It's designed specifically actually for this, not being able to take action, feeling this guilt and shame cycle. It's very visual and it helps you to also reflect on your week, really teaches you what you can improve for the next week. When you get the system, not only you're joining to a community of a bunch of people who bought the system for a lifetime, and I'm actually really active there, and you can ask me questions. I'll answer the issues that you're having, the problems that you're going through. Not only that, you're also getting lifetime access to future updates. So when the new version comes and it's better, you don't need to pay it. Links in the description. And even if you don't get it, I make free ADHD and productivity related content on this channel. So if you like this content, subscribe. And if you're interested into my Kaizen system, check out my website, rudyohama.com. All right, see you in the next video. And if you want to learn more about why you make plans but never follow through, watch this video right here. See you.